September 3rd, 2021, our organization was hit with a large-scale cyber breach. All of our critical systems were down. Financial data, information on our customers, all encrypted and held hostage by a cyber bully who was demanding a significant ransom to get our data back. The leadership team scrambled to respond. One of the responses that was required was to then issue first-class letters to tens of thousands of customers, letting them know that their personal information had been compromised. Did you ever get one of those memos? That's a great feeling, right? Bad guys got access to your personal information, so you might want to check your credit reports to see if your identity has been stolen. Sorry. And thank you for being a loyal customer. For over 3 decades, I have served as an audit and compliance and risk management executive. So I have had to respond to and assess issues like this and countless other scenarios that I can't talk about here. That also means that for 30 plus years, literally over half of my life, I've eaten lunch alone. Because no one wants to eat with the compliance and audit guy, right? Would you? But I'm okay with that because more dessert for me. But that's not the point. The point is that there's a common thread when events like this occur. The problem that I see is that the process of assessing and mitigating risks for most organizations is not working. And if we're being honest, the process of assessing and mitigating risks in our personal lives isn't always working that well either. I know this because it wasn't working for me. 15 years ago, I suffered a devastating injury playing ice hockey. Somebody hit me and blew out in one play both of my knees. I never played hockey again. I had to get 2 total titanium knee replacements. So the people at TSA, when I go through security, know me very well. I was depressed. I couldn't exercise the same way that I did, and I put on a bunch of weight. I was in tremendous pain, and I self-medicated with alcohol, and that got its claws in me to the point that it owned me. And that led to shattered relationships, a painful divorce, and my life was spiraling out of control. What I was doing was not working. And what I saw from my vantage point as an auditor was that it wasn't working well for organizations either. At work, we need to stop asking just the senior leaders and those in positions of responsibility to assess and identify risks. And we need to start engaging everyone in the organization. But part of the problem is that risk assessment, let's face it, it's a bit of a snooze fest. So today, I want to introduce some ideas of ways that you can gamify this so that you are more productive at work and in your life. I was sitting at a cybersecurity conference years ago. Why? Because I'm a geek and I like that type of stuff. And the speaker was talking about how they use gamification to enhance employee engagement in cyber training. And it was a brilliant idea, and the results were clearly evident. And I remember thinking, how can we gamify risk management? I thought about how the process works at most organizations that I've been a part of. The senior leaders are the ones who are typically tasked to, on an annual basis, go through a risk assessment process. Maybe that's your role. Now, executives, in my experience, might be brilliant at having a strategic vision of where the organization is going, but they don't necessarily always have a clear view of what's really happening on the front lines. Now, if we were to ask those people on the front lines, they would be able to give you tremendous insight on what's really working and what's not, on ways things could be better. I'm seeing some nods. But many times those people feel like they might not have a voice. Maybe you feel like your voice is not always heard. I want to share some ideas of ways that you can actually create a game with your team and apply this at work and in your life. There's a visual model for risk assessment and internal control that was established by the Committee on Sponsoring Organizations, or COSO, back in 1992. In 2013, they updated that model to look like a cube. So one of the strategies that I had was, okay, how can we make a game out of this? So I took the COSO cube model and I decided to make a game out of this with a Jenga game. Okay, no. This is a game show, right? So I'm going to do that again. You guys are going to be the ooh, which means you guys are going to be the what? Okay. So I decided to create the model using a Jenga game. Oz need a little help, but you're out and end, so we'll let that go. So here's how you can make a game out of this at work. First, have people see themselves in this. The tone at the top, the control environment. Those who are leading the organization, how are you leading? What are your objectives? What are those things that you have to do? And then event identification. What's the bad stuff that could happen? Not necessarily what do you think is going wrong, but if everyone were asleep at the switch and no one were paying attention, what's the stuff that could be damaging to organization financially, reputationally? When you assess risk before they occur, you stand a lot better chance of getting out of that cycle of constantly putting out fires and responding to the crisis du jour. Head nods. Anyone feel like you're stuck in that cycle? Here's how you gamify this. Have a competition with your team and see who can identify the highest number of areas of potential risk. Make a game out of it. And in true game show style, whoever comes up with that highest number, give them a prize. In our organization, we gave that person a brand new car. That's not true. That's not true. That was not in the budget. We gave them a coffee gift card. It doesn't have to be expensive. People just love winning stuff. But then you can't just identify those things. You have to assess them. How bad would that be if that were to take place? Would it be a minor disruption, or would it be, as we say in Boston, wicked bad? Would that be wicked bad and show up in the papers? So then you respond. How do you respond? Most organizations put in place control processes, control activities. What are those? Policies and procedures. Why? Because we know that everyone loves to read policies and procedures. No? Okay, it's what people read at night when they're having trouble falling asleep. I get it. But you got to have them, and if people follow them, what do you know? You end up avoiding some risks. But then you have to put training in place. What are you doing to make sure that the people in your organization are trained? Well, we issued our new policy, and then we had a lunch and learn where we introduced it, and it was very well received. Oh, that's great. How many people were there? 7. 7? Don't we have like 200 employees? Well, yes, we're hoping for more, but everyone there gave it very high marks. All 5 stars. Okay, that's not a lunch and learn, that's a picnic. And they probably gave it 5 stars because of the free sandwiches. Healthy organizations go through this process on a regular basis. If you want to be healthy in your life, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in your relationships, it requires the same level of dedication. But it's a lot more fun if you make a game out of it. I wanted to get to the point of helping to understand how this would apply to my life. If you're doing all of these things at work, and you're probably checking off the boxes, yep, we do that, then why are you still having problems? It all comes down to the foundation of this model and the foundation of the cube. If in your business you're paying attention to all this stuff, but you're not continually monitoring, if in your personal life you know what to do, but you're not continually monitoring, you take out the monitoring. and the whole model falls apart. And that's exactly what my life looked like when I was at that lowest point. Depressed, overweight, unhealthy, in the clutches of addiction, relationship shattered. And then a friend named Mavelyn put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Rob, you're so good at helping organizations to navigate through all of this stuff. Why don't you apply your fancy COSO cube thingy and audit your life?" And so I did. I started at the top. What are my values, my faith, those things that are important to me? I started doing, with rigorous honesty, looking at the risks that were destroying my life. I began to put control activities in place. I got myself into 12-step recovery. I got a nutrition coach, personal trainer, got myself into therapy. Started conveying and counseling with my pastor. I surrounded myself with accountability partners. And I began to monitor every part of my life. And this is my physical transformation. I lost 70 pounds. I've kept it off now for over 10 years. And this is my 12-year chip celebrating 12 years of sobriety. And now I help to mentor other men going through that same journey. And that hand on my shoulder, Mavelyn, the real hero of this story, would you stand up? In 2 months, she and I will be celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary. If you apply these gamification principles to your work, it can transform your business. If you are strong and courageous, and you're willing to apply that to your life, it can transform your life as well. When we leave today, I want to encourage you to pick one area of risk that you have been avoiding and assessing. Make a game out of it, make it fun, and watch it transform things for the better. So, are you ready to play the game?